Welcome to Fortune and Friendship, the podcast where we believe that your most valuable asset is your network. I'm your host, Corey McNabb, and each week we'll connect with inspiring guests who are making waves in their fields. Together, we'll explore how collaboration and friendship can lead to incredible opportunities and success. Each episode, you'll hear from entrepreneurs, creative investors, and thought leaders who will share what they're currently working on and how we can join forces to create something amazing. Whether you're looking to expand your own network or discover new ways to collaborate, you'll find actionable insights and fresh ideas right here. So let's settle in and remember, it's not who you know that counts, it's who knows you. Welcome back, guys, to this episode of Fortune and Friendship. Today, we have a special guest with us, and that is Mr. Patrick Mahoney. Patrick, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Thank you, Corey. Thanks for having me on the show. Excited to be here. Excited to put myself out there a little bit. As we were kind of talking backstage, this is my first podcast, first live streaming thing. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, this is now, I guess, my 47th. I've been on one podcast outside of my own, but it still get a little bit of nerves. So you
Nice.
do all right.
Perfect.
So this is really actually the first time we're getting a chance to speak. So I'm learning right along with you guys that are watching. So Patrick, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, about your story, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So grew up in Northern California, just a little bit north of San Francisco, small kind of wine country, Sonoma County, kind of up near like Napa and Sonoma County, and was born and raised here. And then I have four brothers, so I grew up in a kind of a big family on a small little farm property. My parents bought some acreage when I was about 5, and we grew up there. And we were riding dirt bikes, raising pigs, goats, chickens, you name it. We were kind of just playing outside. Never really had computers or TVs or anything like that, and till we got older. And grew up in a very traditional household. So my parents were traditional in the sense of non-entrepreneurial, just get into a trade, go get into a union, go join a construction company and save for retirement, and you want to get into a union with a good pension. And that's what my four siblings did, and I was kind of just the black sheep of the family, I guess. I didn't I was never much of a hammer swinger or anything like that, and so I ended up deciding to go to college. And I went in at a point in my life where I was like, I think I was like 23, and I was dating my wife at the time as my girlfriend, and I hit a point where I was working a minimum wage job, and I think I was working for a beer company stocking beer shelves or something like that. And I hit a point in my life, and I asked myself, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm making I think minimum wage was like $9 an hour or something. And this was, I'm 30 now, so this was, I don't know, 8-9 years ago or whatever. And I hit a point in my life where I'm like, what am I doing? I can't live like this. I can't make this kind of money forever. I live in California. It's one of the most expensive places to live. And I decided one day I needed to challenge myself and ask myself, I'm like, okay, well, what's one of the hardest things you can go to school for? And it was medical school to be a doctor or engineering school. And I kind of weighed my two options, and I said, well, medical school, takes a little bit longer and it's more expensive. And I don't have financial backing, so I ended up going to engineering school, and went and became a mechanical engineer. Moved out to Sacramento, which is about 2 hours away. Paid my way through college, working full time. And shortly after I graduated, I got a job at a utility company, and I was working in the electric construction side. So I didn't do anything related to engineering. I just hopped straight back into construction, and was more of like a construction project manager. And simultaneously, I was like thinking to myself, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, I've never been somebody who can just sit and relax. I have to be educating myself. I have to be doing something. So I was reading a lot of like self-development books, and I was doing some stock market trading, and realized how much of a pain in the ass that is. And I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and literally I went on YouTube and I'm like, okay, what are the top 10 best books to read for personal development and stuff? And I think it was just like number 2 or whatever. So I read it and I'm like, holy moly, I need to get into real estate. Like I need to get into making my money work for me. And I started going through his cash flow quadrant and buying assets and being an investor and business owner. And I didn't really at that time know about like the creative side of things. So I went out and got my real estate license and decided, hey, I'm going to get into real estate. So I went and got my real estate license and started, looking at getting into that. But a lot of the brokers local to where I'm at wanted me to be full time. And I was telling them, well, I'm not going to go trade my $150,000 a year job or whatever to come work for you for full time to maybe make, sell 2 or 3 houses and make, 60, 70 grand or whatever. And so that kind of put me on pause a little bit. And I was actually at my bachelor party. I was up in Northern California with my brothers and a couple good friends, and we were fishing and drinking. And I was watching YouTube, and I came across an ad for Pace Morby, and I was like, "Who's this Yahoo? Like, what is this sorcery type stuff that he's promoting?" And so I decided, I was like, I got an extra couple $1,000 in the bank. I just won't tell my wife if it's something that's, if it's something that doesn't work out, I just won't say anything about it or whatever. And next thing you know, I'm in this community, and from there, really kind of more so just the mindset shift of like there's so much more to life that people don't even realize. Like I don't even realize. Like it's just like constantly learning new things every day, and just breaking out of like the going to work every day and then coming home and watching TV, or like the traditional thing that millions of Americans do. And just the mindset shift alone is like mind blowing. So anyways, I got in there. I started doing some wholesaling. Started doing a lot of agent outreach because I'm an agent. Just flows a little bit better. My long-term goal obviously is passive income, so started purchasing properties. And something that recently we did, I've always been kind of nervous just in the back of my mind to purchase properties out of state because I can't control it. I can't touch it. I can't feel it. I can't see it. I can't drive by it. And one day I walk out into the living room and I look at my wife, and I'd seen a post on Facebook for a house in Virginia, and I'm on the other side of the country. And I walk out and I tell my wife, this is the first property, and I say, screw it. We're buying this house in Virginia. Like, I'm tired of waiting on the sidelines. I'm tired of analysis paralysis. I'm tired of not jumping in. If we lose 50 grand, we lose 50 grand. We're young. We can recoup. Like, it's not going to kill us or anything. And we ended up buying this property. No idea what I was going to do with it. It was a 6-bedroom house. And along the way, I was connecting with somebody, and they were telling me about sober living facilities. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, that's a big thing in my family. I come from a long line of people that are sober now from drug addiction, alcohol addiction. It's just a big thing in my family. And I decided, well, you know what? I might see if this is a good fit for that. And so I worked with a couple local operators that do sober living homes, and they just jumped on the property. Like, as soon as I had it out there, they were like, we want this property. What do you want for it? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I want $3,200 a month for it. And my PITI is like $1,700. And that was really the first thing that we got. And that's pretty much our story now. So now I'm just continuing to build on that, continuing to network with people, continuing to put myself out there and get on podcasts, and that's where we're at, one step in front of the other.
Okay.
Sorry, that was kind of a long intro.
No, that's all right. He threw it out there. That's great. I'm just trying to remember now all the questions I had. Um, so first you mentioned um, that you're 30. What's up? Me too. Um, and I think you had told me beforehand that either you're going to be a new dad soon or you are now a new dad.
Just had a daughter September 24th, so brand new dad.
There
She's
you
7
go.
weeks old.
How are y'all settling in?
You know, that's I probably should have read some baby books when I was doing my personal development journey, reading books, because they don't, nothing really prepares you for it. Um, but it is the most amazing thing that I've ever experienced in my entire life. Just the whole journey. It's funny because people always would tell me like your whole world's about to change, and they would always tell me like it's the most amazing thing. And until you experience that feeling and seeing a child be born and take their first breath of air and hear their first cry, and you see that, and then bringing them home, and it's just the most amazing thing that I've ever experienced. And
Okay.
but nothing can really prepare you that for that until you go through it on your own.
So that's something me and my wife have talked about. We have a lot of people that they were friends before we had kids, and then we had kids. Like I'm about to have my third, um, and like we haven't really talked to them since we had kids. And the main thing is they just don't get it. Like I don't know if you were this way before, but if you had ever heard somebody say, "Oh, I'm a fur mom," or "I've got pets; those are my kids," like
Yeah,
definitely now you're gonna be like, "No, no,
yeah,
that you don't understand." Um, it does change you, but ultimately, everyone is a kid until they become a parent.
yeah. That's so true.
So sometimes you're just a really old kid, but
Right?
yeah, no, I would definitely little piece of advice. Um, make sure your wife is getting enough sleep. Obviously, you need to get sleep too, but so I can tell you with our first, my wife struggled really badly with. They tried to say it was postpartum depression. It wasn't that. It was just sleep deprivation. Um, so make sure she's getting enough sleep. Little piece of advice that I learned early on that a lot of people don't get told. Once that kid, and guys, if you're watching this, you might think this is controversial. I'll just say you're wrong. This works. Okay. Once your kid is 3 months old, she does not need to eat at night. Her body can withstand
And yeah,
going that time. Now, it makes it easier on her if you load her with calories during the day, but at least once they get 3 months old, they don't need to eat at night. Um, so
we've
that
gotten pretty lucky with sleep, and it's like right now, like last night, she slept all night long. She went to bed at I think we went to bed at like 10. She didn't wake up till 6, which was incredible. Normally, she wakes up at least once to eat, but our nighttime routine right now is good. So
yeah,
hopefully, I mean, she's only 7 weeks, so I'm sure it'll fluctuate as she gets a little
it
older.
will. She'll go through regressions. There's I'll try and find what the actual name of it is, but there's they call them leaps. They go through leaps every so many weeks. So if you actually pay attention, and honestly, the only reason I notice this is because my wife really pays attention. Um, their behavior will be great. They'll be sleeping well, whatever, as long as you put in the work, right? Sometimes, and I'm not just saying this to you, but anybody else out there, sometimes the baby is just chill and will sleep and do all that. Those are the dangerous ones because they make you think the next one's going to be just the same. That is not the case. Well, I can't say that. I don't know. Our first one was the rough one.
Really?
Which is unusual. Yeah.
Interesting.
So our second one was totally chill.
I think I probably would rather have it that way, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see when I encounter
Well,
myself.
I think it was good. We learned a lot of skills in it with the first one. So, we with her, my wife didn't feel comfortable not having her eat at night until like 4 months old, and then we actually had to sleep train her at 4 months old, and doing the cried out method, stuff like that. Second one, we didn't have to do it that much. Like we didn't really have to make her cry it out, but we started earlier. So we started putting her in her crib and letting her fall asleep on her own earlier than our first. So that may have been part of it too. But yeah, no, it's just you learn a lot of things, and it is you're training them ultimately. Like I'll correct people whenever they're like, "Oh, don't you just love raising kids?" I go, "I'm not raising kids; I'm raising adults.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my kids to be kids forever."
Yeah, it's crazy too when like you think about that. Like you're teaching them, like you're teaching them.
Yep.
It's crazy. I don't know. It still blows my mind every day. It's like even at 7 weeks, she's still watching us. She's still learning. She doesn't understand everything right now, but she still sees that. And something my wife and I talk about frequently. And my wife and I have a phenomenal relationship, and we want our kid to see that her parents love each other. And so we're big on making sure that we're affectionate in front of our daughter and stuff like that. We're hugging and stuff like that because we want her to see that her parents love each other and stuff like that. But it's everything you do, you're teaching them, which is still, but blows my mind. And it's like I got to catch myself to remember that, everything that I do, I am being watched, and what I'm doing is going to be teaching her, and she's going to be learning.
Absolutely, and that's the other reason why, me personally, I believe if you were in a relationship with someone you love, ultimately, I would think you get married. Some people don't think that way, whatever. But I do think everyone should at least attempt to have children. Not immediately, guys. I'm not saying just go out and try and have a kid. But I wouldn't wait too long, right? Mainly because, especially if you want to grow and improve yourself, because your kids are like little mirrors that will show you all of your flaws.
Right.
Every little bad habit you didn't know that you had, they'll start demonstrating it, and you'll be like, whoa, wait a minute. So
definitely,
it's good, dude. It's good. Awesome. Well, we got off topic a little bit, but super stoked for you. And feel free to reach out, if you have questions. We've been through it.
Yeah.
Right.
I appreciate it. When's your next one due? Your third?
December 6th.
Okay, that's right around the corner. Congratulations.
Yep. Now, if this one plays around like the other two did, she probably won't arrive until like December 11th or something, because the first, our oldest was 11 days late, and our second was 8 days late.
Wow. Okay.
So, but this one, it's crazy. It is no joke. The Alien movie where the thing comes out of the stomach? It is like she's constantly pushing, moving.
That's how ours was, nonstop.
Yeah. So we'll see. So sweet, man. So you kind of done it all then, right? So you kind of had like, I don't know if you were actually farming or if it was just like hobby stuff, but you kind of had that side of things. Your family was in construction, and you were like, nah, I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, it ended up coming back around that you were in construction. I'm curious, like, how did that feel? Were you kind of like, damn, fell back into it, or was it a totally different sense?
It's funny because, so, yeah, my family went into like just straight construction. My dad's been in sheet metal. He does heating and air conditioning for, I don't know, 65 years now, it feels like. But, he wrote the instruction manual on how to put together an HVAC unit, right? And so all my family kind of got into that. One of my brothers went into general construction. The other two went into to HVAC, and then the other one, he's still kind of toying around with different construction stuff. And it was a weird feeling, kind of. I went to school for engineering, and I graduated. Then I was doing some HVAC design work. So I was behind the desk working on a computer, and I realized I'm in an office with a bunch of people that I don't really get along with. Like, I've always been hanging out with construction workers, shooting the shit, bullshitting around and stuff like that. And sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on this, but uh,
Dude,
anyways,
it's all right.
yeah. Anyways, I found myself in an office setting where people are talking about things like their Excel spreadsheets and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here. And I ended up getting picked up by this utility company. It's one of the largest utility companies in the nation, but they serve Northern California here. And I got into the construction side of things, but it was nice where I'm not actually out there physically doing the construction. I'm just managing the construction, which kind of has, you got your office settings and then you got your in the field settings. So I get a little bit of both, which really is what I like. I enjoy being in the office when I'm planning because I'm a big planning person. I do love planning. I do love like engineering things and working with numbers and project management and budgeting and stuff like that, forecasting. But I also love getting out in the field and working with the construction crews and hanging out and talking and relating with them because I just didn't really relate with people in the office, and that was the hard thing for me. So it was kind of a weird feeling leaving the office to go back into like a construction setting, but it wasn't necessarily like me getting back into doing construction or anything like that. It was kind of just it's like a hybrid. So
Yeah, so it was just different enough that you didn't feel like you were getting sucked back into it.
right.
Okay, cool. And so from there, um, you kind of came into real estate, I think, the same way a majority of us do. Because I did the same thing, Read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right after having my first kid, right after we bought our first house. And I was pissed. Because I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I looked into Bigger Pockets, and I learned about house hacking. And I'm like, you mean we could have put a down payment on like a duplex instead of a single family home?
Yep.
So, but I feel like a lot of people get in that way. But you went out and like, you went and got your license. Now, did you do any work as an agent, or were you kind of planning, hey, I want to get my license so that I can be an investor? And then kind of.
Yeah, that was it. And it's kind of funny because I did the same thing. So my wife and I bought our house. When we bought our house, I didn't even know what an interest rate meant. I had no clue. We just had a friend of ours that was an agent, and we actually, right across the street from our house, directly across the street, my wife and I, we went to an open house there, and we walked outside, and my wife was like, I really wish we could buy that house. She pointed to the house we're in. And then like 3 months later, a realtor friend of mine texted me and said, "Hey, this house just came on the market. I think it's what you guys would really want." And I turned to my wife. I'm like, "Dude, it's the house." Like, and he's, we went back and forth, and we ended up buying it, but I didn't even know what an interest rate was. And after that, yeah, I got my license, but I got my license because I wanted to invest, and I wanted to have the MLS access, and I wanted to have access to sellers, and I wanted to be able to have that credibility when I'm talking with other agents or when I am talking with sellers. And I never used it for anything traditional. I have it just in case my siblings or my cousins or my coworkers want to sell their house or buy a house. I can always represent them, but I don't use it, and I don't actively try to use it in a traditional sense.
Gotcha. Okay, so you kind of have your license posted up with a broker somewhere that just kind of maintains it?
Yeah, so I'm not even actually with a broker right now. There's a few. I didn't want to pay like the desk fees, and there's a couple cloud brokerages like e-brokerages that you can set up, and they just do it by commission per sales. But a lot of them want like you have to be active in it, and so what I would do is probably sign up for EXP or something like that, and get back in when somebody wants to use the services. But most of my stuff that I've been doing investing now has been outside of California because our laws here are, I don't know if I really even want to be a landlord here.
Yeah.
Now I've bought the properties out of state, and I've kind of overcome that fear. I'm not sure I even want to own here, even though it is nice that I can drive up and I can check in on the property and stuff. But our landlord laws here are terrible. Like you can literally be forced into foreclosure just because somebody doesn't pay you your rent.
Right. Yeah, no, I get it. So where are you investing now? I know you have one in Virginia. Is that where you want to maintain focus, or you kind of going widespread? What's your method?
Yeah, so Virginia, I know they definitely. I do want to do more of the sober living homes, and they are definitely looking in the Virginia, like the Virginia Beach. My house is in Newport News, but Hampton, Newport News, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, they're looking pretty heavily in that area. So naturally, I'm looking to fill their need for more homes. So I'm looking there, and then Arizona, the Phoenix metro market is a market that I really like, and so I'm supposed to be hopefully going under contract for a property in Mesa. Um, I was just talking with somebody who brought the lead to me, and we were working with the agent over the last couple of days. So I want to expand into that market and start growing there, um, and then pretty much those two markets. I was looking at Texas. Texas, a lot of the stuff there with the property taxes and now the hurricanes that are hitting Florida and Texas a lot. Georgia's a market that I was looking at. Um, Georgia and North Carolina are my two backup markets, but really Virginia and Phoenix.
Okay. So you're mainly buying now. You said you had done some wholesaling. What's your, I guess, your lead generation method? Are you going kind of buying from wholesalers? Are you reaching out to sellers? What's your method?
Yes, so most of it is connecting with wholesalers. Some of it I still do direct agent outreach. I still pull low equity leads from PropStream, and I'll do low equity outreach. I was doing a little bit of pay per lead for motivated sellers. I was just kind of testing it out. So I had a couple properties come from that. And then most of it's just trying to buy from other wholesalers. Um, that the lead generation or the time spent trying to identify the property and then going through the follow-up and the 6 months of constant, hey, I gotta reach out to you 1,500 different times just to get a contract. I'd rather let somebody else go do that, and I'll just pay them some money to make it work. And
Mm-hmm.
so most of my stuff right now is wholesalers, and then I do a little bit of outreach myself. I'll still go door knock in my local area, foreclosures, um, and then I have a couple, like I was calling direct to seller for foreclosures in Arizona as well. But my main source is just buying from wholesalers.
Okay. So are you doing only creative deals? Are you doing cash deals? What kind of deals do you want wholesalers to bring to you?
I'm looking for creative is ideal. Cash, I don't, because I don't know, I'm not a fix and flipper and stuff like that. So cash, usually is something that needs to be fixed up and
Yeah.
either do a burst strategy or you need to do a fix and flip. And so I have a couple contractors in the Virginia area. I would do cash there. Arizona, I haven't been networking with contractors. I haven't been, trying to find people that can do certain types of work for me in that area. So I haven't been looking for cash in Arizona. But I did connect with a couple other sub two members in Arizona that do fix and flips, and so I might work with them to get in on some of their properties and partner up and make that relationship with those contractors and stuff like that, so I can expand into doing. Because I wouldn't be opposed to doing a burr or even fix and flips in that area. My goal is to not make more active income, it's to make passive income and
Yeah.
start building the generational wealth now. Um,
So are you still working a W-2?
I still do work my W-2, and my wife is an ER nurse, so we're both working full time, and we're looking at trying to get tax benefits by owning property. Is why
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
why we're
Cool.
trying to buy.
Gotcha. That makes sense because there was someone else I interviewed. I believe I don't remember if it was Mitch or John, but they kind of broke it down in the whole, buying properties is great. You get tax benefits, but you get tax benefits on your active income. So for someone who maybe they decide, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go buy properties, you don't really get those benefits if you don't have active income coming in. So
Right.
if that's the case, I'm not saying you shouldn't. If that's what you need to do what you need to do. But consider some other source of active income,
Right.
whether it's your own business or you decide to work under someone else. If you don't like your job, it's only a decision, right? You just got to change it.
Right. That's the thing. Like I don't mind my job. I don't. My goal is to not work for somebody for the rest of my life. I want to work for me for the rest of my life, but it's not bad, and it puts food on the table. It keeps us in our house, and we're you know very grateful to have high paying jobs that we do. And so we're just working at, okay, how can I start building a portfolio that offsets how much I make at my W 2, and the point of where when I hit that line of, okay, now I'm making enough money that equals what I make at my W 2, but from passive rent income, then I can start making that decision. Okay, how can I step away from my W 2 and then maybe get back into active fix and flips or more wholesaling to generate more active income? How can I start building more businesses that'll create more active income where I'm not just working for somebody else? Now I'm purely working for myself.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was what I was about to say. Is who knows? You might get to that point and then discover that you want to do something totally different. Not saying you'll leave real estate, but once you have the freedom to choose where you work,
Right.
then you can also choose what you work on, right?
Right.
So, like for me, I know that my end goal is I want to start a farm, like big farm. But I've got to make the money to get there first.
Yeah. Like animal farms or like.
So have you heard of restoration agriculture?
Mm-mm.
So the premise is moving away from annual crops. Not saying not growing annual crops, but if you take So it is actually broken down. The biggest argument, right? What's the biggest crop that we grow in the United States? Do you know?
I got no idea.
Corn.
I was gonna say corn.
Yeah, corn. And so a lot of people like to when someone brings up alternate methods, they're like, "Oh well, you know, can your methods feed as many people as corn can?" And it's like, well, first off, corn's not feeding people. Um, like the niacin that's in it, we can't even break down unless we add lime or citrus or something like that to it to pre-break it down. Um, so there's a lot of deficiencies. 1 acre of corn, if that's all someone ate, like a full acre of corn, yeah, could probably survive. We'll say survive for, I think it's like, I think it's almost 2 years or something like that. Um, I might be off on that. I'll have to look at the numbers again. But you've got deficiencies. You'll have calcium deficiencies. You'll have all these other deficiencies because it's only one product, right? But that's what most of our crops are. It's a monocropping of either corn, soy. God, I wish it was coin. Soy and stuff like that. Um, Whereas restoration agriculture focuses more on creating an industrial farm system that's based on an actual ecosystem. So instead of having a single crop, you have multiple crops. And when I say multiple, most of them are perennials. So you plant them once and they produce every year instead of having to till it all back up and replant and all that stuff. So like chestnuts or acorns, those are chestnuts really are was it chestnuts? Yeah, it was chestnuts. You can pretty much use chestnuts the same way you can use corn. But it has much more fat content. It has all these other nutrients. If you grind it up, you can use it as like cornmeal, but chestnut meal, like all the different things. You can use it as preservatives, stuff like that. And they produce every year. Chestnuts, at least, especially depending on the variety you get, will produce every year. Acorns and beech nuts are similar, but they're biannual producers. Or what do they call them? Bumper producers. Basically, the tree will release a minimum amount of, say, acorns a year. And then every 2 or 3 years, it'll just dump them. And theoretically, that makes sense because if you're slowly putting out acorns, right, what do squirrels eat? They eat acorns.
Right.
They eat nuts of all kinds. So they'll come in and be like, oh, there's not many here. So that's not sustaining a large population of squirrels. And so then when there's not a lot of squirrels, they drop them all. And theoretically, there's a greater chance for some growing.
Interesting.
But beech nuts produce about the same. Not beech nuts. Chestnuts produce about the same every year. So that's a better for the farm production cycle. The beauty about it is how you set it up, right? So kind of alley cropping. So you have expanses of grass or cover crops, or in if you wanted your annual crops in the middle of these rows of trees. And so you've got the chestnuts are the tallest trees that are kind of in the middle. Underneath / in between, you have apple trees, pear trees, plums, peaches, all these different fruit trees can go under there. Under that, you got hazelnut bushes. You can get, grapes, raspberries, all those fruits that come back every year, basically in these strips and in between you can have your annual cropping. And so that actually takes, they did the math, the food production of an acre of corn that actually goes to humans actually only comes out to, I think it's like it's 1.9 million calories.
Wow.
The rest of it, because it produces like 13 million calories.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is used in fuel, preservatives, like things that transport livestock feed, all that stuff. So humans actually only consume about 1.9 million calories of corn from 1 acre. Whereas if you utilize this method, the restoration agriculture, with the chestnuts, raspberries, and this is considering you've got all those plants, and then you're also grazing underneath with pigs, chickens, cows, stuff like that, and then making that into meat and all that stuff, right? You, per acre, using that method, produces, I think it's 5.2 million calories.
Oh shit! So you're like 3xing or 2.5xing your.
And it's the full gambit. No deficiencies. You're getting everything you need. That is actually the way, and it's with nature. So if you leave it to do that, like, it will get better every year. Like the planet will get healthier. Say planet, that land will get healthier, and you will actually build soil. So
That's crazy. That's cool. How do you harvest everything? Like that's a lot of work.
So that's the big question. There are, because this is supposed to be farm scale. Obviously, you could hand harvest it. You need a lot of people, especially for a big farm. But setting it up in that alley cropping, at least you can harvest the chestnuts, I believe the apples, and all the the fruits with the same machine. Now you'll have to go in with another machine or by hand to collect the grapes and the berries and stuff like that. But other than that, honestly, you can let a lot of that drop, because the guy who wrote this book, his name's Mark Shepard. He actually has put in a system for his pigs that he basically doesn't do anything. Like, I don't know at what point he releases them into the field, but he puts them in the field and they have everything they need to eat is growing. And then once it gets time for the chestnuts to fall, and the hazelnuts and all that stuff, that's what fattens them up, and then they get slaughtered.
Wow.
So like he doesn't have to go spend money on feed, anything like that. And I actually think he just, because I was watching a video where they were touring his farm, and it's pretty tall grass. He, for the most part, just lets it go, lets it do its thing. And you just see chickens zipping in and out of the trails and stuff. And he's like, oh, there's one. So,
that's crazy.
I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't even think like that was a thing. Hopefully, I do love cornbread though. So, hopefully.
So actually, you know what? There's what really sparked my interest in it. And I don't know if you have any interest in farming or not. I mean, I know you kind of have that background. I don't know if you want to go back towards that, what your experience was or not. But there's a documentary movie called The Biggest Little Farm. And it's actually out in Los Angeles, or just north of Los Angeles. And it's a similar method, basically having everything works together. So they did, they do a lot of observation, and funny enough, when you introduce food, regardless of what it is, things that eat that food move in. So you introduce fruit, like in this case, a real quick example, you introduce bunch of fruit trees, birds that eat the fruit move in. That pisses you off. But if you let them and they get an influx of those birds that eat those birds move in, right? It all balances out over time. So that's kind of the premise, but it's a great movie. I definitely recommend it.
So it reminds me of the circle of life from Lion King when I was
yes, absolutely
8 years old.
Absolutely. Well, sweet, man. I wasn't planning on going all into that, but
No worries.
So okay, recap about you, anyways, not me. New dad, been doing everything, working your butt off, still making it work, doing great. And now you're buying in Arizona, Virginia, maybe Georgia, and stuff like that, mainly looking for sober living.
Yep.
What constitutes a good sober living?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's very similar. Sober living is just a niche in the co-living model. So, really, sober living is co-living. It's just with a certain subgroup of people that are in active recovery from, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, stuff like that. And so it's very similar to what you would want in a co-living property. So obviously, the bigger the house, the better, and not just by room, but like room, bed, bath count, but square footage size.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the one thing that is a little different, at least for me, is a lot of people in the co-living space will take like a 3-bedroom house and turn it into a 9-bedroom house, but they remove all the common
Living
areas.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no living room, there's no dining room, there's no TV room. And so in my house, I like to continue to leave that area so they have a place to hold their in-house meetings and that kind of stuff. And so a good sober living home is something that's probably greater than 2,000 square feet, very close to public transportation or close to places of employment. A lot of people that live in these sober living homes either have DUIs and they can't drive, or they can't afford cars, or they have some form of driving restriction on their driver's license, and you want to be close to where they can either bike to work or bike to public transportation or catch a bus ride to their job and their meetings and stuff like that. No HOA, obviously. You got 10 to 11 people that live in your house, or 10 to 12 people. And then, you want it just somewhere where it makes sense to have a bunch of people living in one house. So when I say that, you probably don't want something in like the Beverly Hills, like a super class A neighborhood, right? Like you want it to be in a neighborhood that it makes sense. So lower end of the B class, C class, even the D class. I don't like to, go into the, super bad areas, I guess, but the one I have.
Well, absolutely, and that makes sense too, because your goal here, while yes, you're trying to make passive income, you're trying to do it in a way that you're helping someone, right? You're helping people that are going through these issues, and one of the, like, why does rehab work in a sense? Because they're getting out of the environment that's
Exactly.
causing them to slip up. That's why a lot of people relapse when they go back into that environment, right? So we don't necessarily, I say we, you don't necessarily want, to buy a house that's in an environment like that, because that's not really helping them then, right? That sober living, could easily become now a drug house, so, and that's not the goal.
Exactly. And that's pretty much it. You just want it close to where they can, you don't want them having to travel 45 minutes to go to a meeting, right? Like you want it to be somewhere where it's in a central area, close to downtown or closer to the city, where that there's meetings for them. There's employment there. That they have access to public transportation. they can get to the grocery store and stuff like that. You don't really want something on like 4 acres out in the boonies that's, because a lot of them can't get there. They don't have vehicles and stuff. Um, Parking is another thing. So my house is a 6-bedroom, or I think it's a 7-bedroom actually, and they have 12 people in there. So you got to make sure you have ample parking if they do have vehicles. Um, and so that's another thing. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much, if you have a 3-bedroom house and there's 2,200 square foot, you can add another 2 or 3 bedrooms. Um, that's a great house. It doesn't have to be a turnkey 6-bedroom house.
Sweet. Well, that's good to know. Well, Patrick, is there anything else you want to talk about before we move on to the last part of our show?
No, I'm good. I appreciate it. I mean, I think I'd like to, kind of hear more about your story, and I'll just connect with you offline. And I want to hear, where you've been, where you've come from, your background. So we can do that offline.
Absolutely.
But I think I'm good. I appreciate you letting me hop in here and tell my story.
Sweet, man. No, I appreciate you, brother. Well, so we're going to move on. Just the last few questions. They're pretty basic. First, this is your first podcast. Well, what made you take the leap of faith and join?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's, very, I've been following a lot of people that are in Owners Club, and I've been following a lot of people that have been doing podcasts. And I've always realized that social media is just, it can really propel your business and your brand. And this is just another form of social media and getting yourself out there. And so trying to break out of my eggshell and spread my wings a little bit and grow, because people won't know who you are unless they know who you are. And the only way they're going to know who you are is if you put yourself out there and get on camera, get on podcasts, get on, different films, post on social media, talk about yourself and what you're doing, and that will attract, more business. And so that's what made me reach out. I saw you were doing this, and so I was like, I gotta meet this guy. I gotta hop in here. I gotta do it. So
awesome. Well, sweet, man. I appreciate it. So, someone watches this podcast and decides, you know what? I want to work with Patrick. And so they reach out to you. What value do you feel you can provide to someone who wants to work with you?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And I think somebody who's been an engineer my entire life, or education has been, and even before, like with my parents, who are super conservative or very anti-investing, I guess, because they don't understand it. And my whole entire schooling is how to think in the worst possible situations. So, like, I have all this fear bundled up inside me about spending money and investing and stuff like that. And, aside from me being a very good underwriter, or aside from me being able to help you walk through the process of closing a transaction, or understanding if a deal is a good deal, I can do all that. But I think something that I can really bring value to people is how to overcome the objection and fear, the self-fear of breaking out of that. It's like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to spend your money and invest it. Like, it's okay to take a leap of faith in life and get out of your traditional mindset. It's like something that I struggle with and have really worked hard to overcome, is like, how can you get out of this like traditional mindset and fear? And so I think that's something that I could really bring value to people is, yes, I can help you, close deals, or yes, I can help you underwrite your deal to make sure it's a good deal and stuff like that. And I will gladly help with that. But I think some major value that I could bring to people is just like experience and saying it's okay to branch out, and you just got to take action. You got to just make the move, because if you don't, it will never happen.
Gotcha. That's good. So on the other side of that, though, that person reaches out to you. What kind of value are you hoping comes out of that relationship?
Yeah, and I think it's more just the relationship is what I would be looking at. And there's a saying, and it's big in our sub-2 community and stuff like that. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with friends. And it's the who, not the how. And building relationships, and your network is your net worth. And so I'm really looking for, specifically, the value I'm looking for is more private money partners, more private money lenders, more deals from wholesalers, more properties to underwrite and analyze. But really, I'm looking for the relationship with those people to bring them long term. Like, we're all in the same business, right? Like, why can't we be friends? And I may come across something that you're looking for 2 years from now, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I sat on Corey's podcast and I know he's looking for this. Maybe I'll slide it over to him. It's really the relationship that I'm looking to build with anybody and everybody, because it kind of ties back to, people don't know who you are until they know who you are, and they don't know what you're looking for unless you let them know what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where I'm at. But private money lenders, private money partners, that would be a bonus.
There you go. Go. Awesome. So what is some advice you would have for someone newer into the game?
I would say spend a little bit of time understanding what you want in life. I would say that the number one thing, and this is something that I still struggle with, is like, I get shiny object syndrome, and I'm like, ooh, I want to own an RV park. Ooh, I want to buy a landscaping business. Ooh, I want to, and I need to get real with, like, what do I want and why I'm doing this in the first place. So I would say spend some time reading some books like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Get an understanding of, like, how money works and how time works and how your mind works. Like, currently, we're all trading time for money, and we want to be able to put our money to where it's working and generating more money. And a book that I would read is the Finding Your Why. Is a book that I would definitely recommend, and really understand why you want to do this and what you're trying to accomplish. And then I would just say, go take action. Doesn't matter what you do, go take action. Find one thing that you can do to just go do and continue to do that. And then I would just say, lastly, is network with people. Get to know them, ask them what they need in their business and what problems they're having and how can you help solve that problem. And just build friends. We're all trying to do this together. We're all trying to get out of, it's going to sound bad, but we're all trying to get away from the friends that we hang out with, because they're still going to the bar every Friday, Saturday night. And it's like, now we're in this elevated space where we're trying to make more money and we're trying to build businesses and we're trying to invest in our future. And so I would say, go build friends like that.
Absolutely. Well said. So, guys, if you're a private money lender, if you're a wholesaler, and you've got a deal like Patrick just talked about, around 2,000 square feet, bigger home, whatever, in Virginia, Arizona, maybe Georgia. I only say that because I'm in Georgia. Maybe we could do something there. But if you got that, reach out to Patrick. So, Patrick, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can catch me on Facebook. It's just Patrick Mahoney, or you can get me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Patrick Mahoney _REI, and send me a message.
Awesome. So, guys, go do that. Make sure you get in touch with him. Even if it's just to say, hey, man, thought you looked awesome on that podcast. Really complimented. You had Corey over there. He was super bright, super crazy. You're very, mellow, cool. You're awesome. So, also, I do really like that hat. But, guys, go reach out to him. Get in touch with him. Become his best friend. Do deals with him. And then I'll see you on this podcast. So, I'm just kidding. It doesn't have to be then. I can see you on the podcast tomorrow. But, regardless, guys, appreciate you. Patrick, I appreciate you. That's all I've got for the show.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me hop in here and talk about myself and stuff like that, and catch up, and appreciate it.
No problem, brother. Sorry. Guys, if you didn't notice, the format's a little different, okay? That's because some things happened and payments that I was not expecting came out. So I switched platforms. So, guys, I appreciate you again hanging out with me. Patrick, appreciate you. And if you like the show, guys, like and subscribe every Monday. Okay? Every Monday these come out. Subscribe to the show. You'll see great interviews that come out. And yeah, it'll be fantastic. You'll get to learn new things, find new people to connect with, and we'll all get to work together. So that being said, guys, until next Monday, peace be with you. Be safe. Love you guys. Have a wonderful week.
Thanks, Corey.